Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Catfish Weekly. I'm Patriot James with Lyle Stokes, Mike Greenwell, and Jake. I didn't get your last name.
McFarling. Jake McFarling.
Jake McFarling. Thank y'all guys for coming in tonight. And before we get started, we want to wish Lyle a happy birthday tonight.
Well, thank you.
Happy birthday, Lyle.
Thanks. I've had a bunch of people send me messages and posts and different things, and it's greatly appreciated. Makes you feel good that many people think enough of you to take a minute of their time every year to tell you happy birthday. So thank you all so much.
Oh, yeah, we want you around for many more.
Hope so.
I don't want to running it by myself. That's being said, guys, don't forget to share, hit the like button, the thumbs up, and let's get this show on the road. We got Palmetto Cats, Half Crazy, James Dockery, Mike Irvin, Brian Outdoors, Wicked Catfish, Half Crazy, Creole. Creole's going to be on our show next week, ain't he, Lyle?
He is. Can't wait.
We got all kind of good people in here. Mr. Dockery, I'm sure he's going to be stirring it up. JP3. Who else we got in here? We got D's in the house tonight. We got a bunch of good people. Guys, don't forget, if you see new channels on here, check out their channels and see what they're all about. You might like them. I see Avid Maurice is in the house setting the hooks and crossing. I still love that daggum name, Lyle. Setting the hooks and crossing eyes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Catfish and crappie. All right, guys. We're going to hit up and pick your brain a little bit tonight. Y'all caught a monster the other day in a tournament.
No doubt about it.
I would assume, Jake, that was your PB, wasn't it?
It was, and almost doubled my previous. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Dang right, guys. Well, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about, what you're fishing out of and, a little bit about the tackle that you use to catch that big fish. And let's go through a few of the obvious questions: bait, tackle, and boat.
Well, we're fishing out of a little old 93 Crestliner Deep V. Got it set up for everything we need. We're fishing some tailwaters. The dam had a lot of bait in the area, some balls of shad, and you could see the skipjack streaking, chasing them. At least we thought they were skipjack, and they were. We're actually bumping and kind of back walking. We didn't have a whole lot of current, but we found a little section where we had about a 5-foot drop and 50 yards long, and we caught every fish out of that one little hole.
Dang right.
Right.
Never know, do you guys, when you're searching in spots, what'll show up?
Yeah.
We put a game plan together probably Wednesday night, and we talked, and we went and got some bait Thursday afternoon, and we was going to go Friday afternoon, but some weather moved in, so we just said, heck with it, we got plenty of bait, and we just kept talking, plan A, plan B, plan C, and we made it about plan A and a half.
Yeah.
You about made Lyle spit his tea out.
We started
It doesn't always work out that way when you make plans like that, but it's really for a good day when it does.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we started way up in the gates, and the way the wind was blowing and the way the current was, we ended up way out of the dam, just in the tailwaters, and that's where the fish were hiding out back there in a little bit of slack, really.
Awesome.
Just enough current to where we was bouncing a 2-ounce.
Yeah, this little weight right here, actually.
The bigger the bait, the better, because it helped the current help pick it up.
I don't know how well you can see that, but that's all the sinker we had on there. Little bitty 2-ounce cannonball. That's it.
Well, that ain't too often you get to bump with something that light, is it?
Well, no. And if you didn't have a big old skipjack head on there, it wasn't going to bump either. You had to have big bait to get it to walk back.
Well, I'm a firm believer in bouncing that the lightest weight that you can get away with and feel the bottom, the better off you are.
Yes.
But if the current's hot, a lot of times 2 ounces is not enough. But if you can keep it the lightest, the lighter the better. And big baits for big fish. I don't care
I think I've made a believer out of old Jake. He always said that if he can't have a 4 ounce, he don't want to bump. He just wants to drift. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we made it happen with that 2 ounce
that's
Saturday.
right. Before that day, if I wasn't using a 4 or 5, I just go to straight sticking, some drifting rods, and it's
Well, that's
changed
productive
kind
time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what kind of rods are y'all using to bump with? I know different people choose different type of rods or different brand of rods, but now do y'all like a good fast action tip on your rods or what you go with?
Yeah. Actually, we're using the B&M bumping rods. I don't know, kind of see it there. Silver Cat Pro Magnum. That's all it is. Mine's the 3rd generation, I guess, and I think Mike's still got the 2nd gen, but they're light, and we could fill that 2 ounce in 40 foot of water and at 100 yards behind the boat.
Ain't right. Ain't right. Listen up to them, guys. I'm gonna tell you, these are 2 guys that knows what that walking that bait down the water will do. I've seen Mike's quite a few of his videos. Don't forget to check out his channel, guys, Mike Greenwell. But I've seen you put some good fish in the boat doing some of that back bouncing and walking them baits down through there, and it looks like fun. We don't have no waters out here where I'm at that we could do that. So I get to learn from y'all. So tell us about the day, the way it got started.
Go ahead.
Well, it just got started. It was just a small little tournament. I think 10 boats showed up, but like I said, we had our game plan, so we went downriver, we locked through, and we ran up to the pretty much to the line, and we started our first drift, and we found out pretty quick that it was going to be not happening there. We ran her on down, let the wind take us, and we found that little gully and started putting some fish in the boat and just having a grand old time.
That's for sure.
We was Ric Flair wooing, we was Ric Flair dancing. Well, we was just having a good old time.
Now, is that a piece of water y'all have fished before?
We got together, 3 years ago. We went up there and we was just doing some drifting. It was in the middle of July, I think, and we caught a whole bunch of fish in them waters back 3 years ago.
Nothing big that day, but we caught, 18, 20 fish in the tournament. I mean, we had action all day. Nothing with any size, definitely not a 92 pounder, but
we started the day off. We started the day
saying
off.
that I'm sorry, go ahead.
We started the day off, I think, it was probably around a 30 pounder. And then his second fish was like an 8 pounder. Jake caught 5 of the 6 fish this day. That's why I said in the video, it's Jake's show today.
There you go.
Using the exact same rig, standing shoulder to shoulder. They were biting on my pole that day.
Hey, it happens that way. Sometimes it'll be on the left side of the boat that they hitting on it. Some days it'll be on the right hand side of the boat.
That's right.
Then some days they won't hit on either side of the freaking boat.
As long as they're hitting the boat, we're happy.
There you go. Now it's do you normally drag through that area, or is it a place that you like bumping on that type of river where you was at?
When you're that close to them tailwaters, you mostly want to be drifting or bumping. You can't do too much dragging up that close to them dams.
Okay. I was wondering, I know some people wanted to know what the difference is as to drifting, as to dragging. What would you be doing different when it comes to that point? But is it real rocky? The reason that you was talking about not being able to drag that much, is it real rocky and hangy that you would lose a lot of your rigs?
No, we didn't. I don't think we lost a rig all day. It's just too much current. It's about 1.5 miles current up there. You want to drag around. When there's almost no current or just a little bit, But you go down from there just a little ways. There's some good sandbars that we like to drag just a few 100 yards down. But when you get up there close to that dam, it's just too much current to drag.
Right. Now, you was talking about that little 5-foot drop. Is that something that is normal up through there, having holes and stuff, scar holes and stuff like that? Or is it something that y'all found in there that was just kind of unique?
The way that one is, it's kind of unique, really. It's not up on the bank. I mean, we actually missed it the first time. We caught one fish, and the wind kind of blew us. And when we turned around to pull back up, the depth finder lit up like a Christmas tree. Mike was back there messing with his rods and cutting some bait, and I said, "Hey, turn around here. You got to look at this." And it was just they were just stacked in that little hole. And the very next time we tried, and I made sure I stayed on my line using the depth finder, and we went over that hole. And as soon as we did, 30-pounder. Boom, we pulled up, did it again, 25-pounder. They were just in that hole. Every time we hit that little drop, we were going to catch a fish, and that's how it went. I mean,
Now, did you mark that big fish in that hole?
I don't know if I did, but so we were pulling back up, and I pulled out to put on the side scan because I wanted to see what it looked like to the left and the right. And it was the first time I'd really noticed a fish, and he looked like a submarine. I mean, you could see the top of the fish, and you could see how it got smaller, like shaped like a torpedo. I said, I got the fish, and that's a big fish, and it wasn't maybe 2 times back through there that I hooked into that fish. So I'd say we did.
Guys, they hooked into a 92-pounder. And if you hadn't seen the video, make sure you check it out. The excitement on that boat was a double whammy of Ric Flair and knuckle bumping and stuff like that. Them bulls is having fun. And Mike and Jake, that's what catfishing is all about anyway, isn't it?
Hey, right.
If you don't get excited when you catch a fish, I'm gonna stop fishing. I don't care how big they are. You got to get that little bit of excitement, or you might as well not go. In my book, anyway.
Well, that's what me and Lyle's always said. If you still don't get excited watching that little red and white bobber take off out there brim fishing, then you just need to give it up.
Yep, that's right. Try something different.
So all you was using that day was big chunks of skipjack or whole skipjacks.
Most of the time it was just we cut the heads off of them. Yeah. We put chunks on the drifting rods, and he caught a few of them on the drift rod. But most of the time we was just putting them big old heads on there, putting them out there, and letting them bump on down.
Back bounce.
Lyle, you got anything to add to this conversation before we go on with the float?
No, I've been watching the chat, and everybody seems to be on the general consensus that a 92 is a fish of a lifetime, and I would agree with that. That's an absolute giant. I don't care what waters you're fishing. That's a giant fish anywhere you go, and 92 pounds. It's huge.
Back in July 3rd, me and another buddy went up to the dam and caught a few skipjack, and we took our bumping rods and a bait rod. We caught a little bit of bait, caught about 50 skipjack or so, and we said, let's bump one time. We got some good fresh bait. And I didn't hit the ground maybe 2-3 times, hit the bottom, and I had a bite, and I missed a fish, and not 30 seconds later, the guy I was fishing with landed a 78. And I knew that this fish was comparable. I was thinking, it's maybe 75, 80 pounds. They put it on the scale. I about fell over, to be honest with you. I had to sit down in the boat. I had no idea it was 92 pounds, that's for sure. And most people
that gets me is you fish one body of water, and the fish will have a huge girth, but they're not quite as long. And you just go down and catch basically the same size fish, and it'd be really, really long and not near as much girth. And I've often wondered if that's the difference in genetics in those fish or the difference in what they eat.
I always wondered if it was the male or the female.
That too, from what I heard anyway.
Could be.
But I don't know. To me, if a fish is swimming in a lot of current, they got a tendency to get that long, lean, that they're sitting up in them lakes and things like that. They're short and fat, kind of like us guys here, But
all I know is that Mike was picking up a lot of heavy breathing the time y'all got that fish in the boat with y'all.
He was too.
Hey, that fish turned me around the boat. We didn't get the live feed going until very at the end, but I was on the left side. I was on the right side. I was on the front of the boat. We turned the trolling motor off, and he was just pulling us around. I mean, it was, I wasn't doing a whole lot to him until he decided he was going to come up. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
It really felt like a log when I reeled down on the fish because it didn't move. And then he went upriver, and I knew it was a fish from that point on.
The one time I want to know if you was using chicken to catch that. but I know the answer.
Chicken of the Ohio River, I guess.
Yeah,
Call it.
chicken of the sea,
Chicken of the sea.
little Kool-Aid chicken with garlic on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
funny. A little
I'm
funny
pretty
story.
sure that 92 never seen a chicken before.
Like maybe a whole chicken or a duck.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. You fish with whole chickens with that rascal.
Yeah.
It definitely fit in his mouth. That thing had a 5-gallon bucket go in his mouth.
Wow.
Probably about two or three drifts before we caught that one, I put a 43 in the boat, the only fish that I caught this day. But right after that fish, my reel started just sounding funny and making some noises, and I just didn't trust it.
Yeah, didn't want to engage.
Yeah, it was being real shaky. So I was like, you know what? I better change this out so we can get that 70. So I changed that reel out, and I'm sitting there looking at our mark. We know that's coming up, and that mark means that little drop. And I get that changed out and get it hooked back in and get back in the water, and that big fish just hit his instead of mine. But
Oh, wow.
In the same drift, we're halfway back. We're about 100 yards away from it. And he said, "I'm gonna go ahead and change that reel so I can catch this 70." Sure enough, it just wasn't on the end of my rod.
man,
Hey, when you guys are in a tournament like that, you're a team.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't matter which rod it hits or who catches it. You're there to do the job, and that's to put fish in the boat and win that tournament. And you succeeded on both parts.
That's right.
Right. And you included us in it. We felt like we was in the boat with you, laughing and having fun with you. I laughed and laughed. I said, them boys are just having just too much fun.
Oh, we were, and we were having fun before that fish.
So I wish the GoPro would have been rolling. I wish I'd have had my battery, because before that fish hit, we was already having a blast.
It was just a good day on the water.
I mean,
The guys up there at the dam are looking over at us. We're over there hooping, hollering. I mean, boy,
we had guys coming to the weigh-in saying, "Well, I know you guys had a big fish. We heard you all the way up with the locks."
there's no Ric Flair on them.
Hey, you know what? If you're not having a good time, it makes for a long day. But when you're having a good time and catching a bunch of fish, don't seem like them days are near long enough.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But that's memories of a lifetime.
It is.
That fish was in that live well, and we kept looking at that fish. We kept looking at that fish, trying to fish a little bit more, and we was like, man, we got to go get this thing weighed in.
Yeah.
Hey, your live well was pretty full.
Well, it was very full. So it holds 16 inches of water deep wise, and that fish was on the bottom and sticking out about 2.5 inches out of the top.
That's a great.
I seen that.
I
Now
mean,
y'all run oxygen on your live well.
I didn't have the oxygen that day. I knew the water was going to be fairly cool. And we just continuous water. The summertime, I have an oxygen setup we throw in there.
Okay,
But
I figured you did. Most people that are tournament fishing try to run that oxygen, especially if they fish much in summer tournaments.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of the people are trying to get away with, getting away from some of the hot water tournaments, and I agree they need to. That's a struggle to keep them old big fish alive when that water's that hot.
A lot of guys around here, we went to 3 fish weigh-ins during them hot summer months. It helps. And there wasn't no way you're fitting 5 fish on the live well and keep them healthy when the water's 88, 90 degrees. It's hard for sure.
Well, I mean, you think about it. If you had that 92 and say a 40 and a 50 and a 60, you wouldn't have had enough live well.
I don't know. So after we took out a 92, a 43, a 23, and a little bitty old fish, like 16 inches of water in the live well, completely full. We took all the fish out. I had about 4 inches of water. that ain't no joke. That's how much water that whale was displacing there. I'm telling you, he was big.
And when you don't have oxygens and stuff going in there, or some type of aeration, that ain't much water for them guys to breathe in.
No,
Right.
not at all.
That's why we just kept it on. We just kept water running on them. Just let it be.
Fresh water through the venturi and had good bubbles going. And, that fish probably would have been healthy for another. We had about 3 hours left in the tournament, but I just hate to see a fish like that not swim off,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And swim off healthily.
Oh, yeah.
Not struggling to go off. I always wonder about them fish. I see people cut them big fish loose, and you just see them barely swimming off. And it always makes me wonder, do these fish actually make it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we stood there and watched him for a few minutes. He swam on off nice and good.
Oh yeah, I could tell by the way he was thrashing around. He was ready to roll. So.
Yeah.
He wanted to get as
healthy.
far away from us as possible.
He didn't waste no time, didn't roll around or move. He just straight to the bottom. He seen
So
the big
what
tail
If
going.
that guy spent all the time with you, he could stand.
He was probably tired of hearing our mouths.
So when you guys get fish like that in the boat, are you sitting there raising up the live well lid all the time, checking on him?
It was
Yeah.
hard to close it, to be honest with you.
Oh, what? Whenever we get big fish in the boat, man, I'm sitting there all the time. Cindy says, "Leave that lid alone." I said, "Well, I got to let all that stink
That's
out
right.
there." But actually, I'm just making sure that he ain't turned sideways or upside down because I couldn't stand to lose a good one, in the live well. But we're the same way. We have oxygen and bubblers and everything under the sun in ours to keep that from happening.
Now, y'all guys being tournament fishermen, and while we're talking a little bit about live wells, I want to ask you a question on that. What would be your recommendation for the smallest live well that somebody could get away with? And I know it all depends on what waters you're fishing. Say if you're fishing in waters that ain't nothing but channels, but you on water, say like the Ohio River and other lakes that has a chance to get big blues and big flatheads. What would be the smallest live well that your recommendations would be?
I say no smaller than 50, 60 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I run 2 800-gallon pumps. My live well holds about 80, 85 gallons. I could get probably 90 in there if I wanted it to the top.
Right.
I actually built that live well up in the front of my boat over the last winter time. I didn't have my vent. I don't have my vents in it yet, and that's when you're talking about letting all that stink out. So we had the lid cracked, so I wouldn't make sure let all the ammonia and stuff out from them fish. I still got to add a few things to it, but it's got a big overflow, and we had both them 800 pumps pumping, and it's moving a lot of water.
Well,
yeah, I always wondered. I never see anybody do it, but putting something like a vent on top. With an elbow on it, so you allow not just the ammonia out, but let the heat out.
Yeah, for sure. That's it's coming soon.
Okay. And you do recommend people running the Venturis on their system too, right?
Yeah, for sure. You got to suck that fresh air from somewhere and get it down in the water.
Well, a little trick that when I built my live well, what I've done is on my Venturi hoses that come out, I carry a little small cooler and I put them ice blocks in it. And I got about 20 foot of copper line twisted up inside there. So in warmer weather, what I do is I take that Venturi hose and stick it onto that copper line. So it's actually pulling cold air through that and blowing cold air in and out with the bubbles. What happens is when you got 10 million little tiny bubbles, that's 10 million little surface that carries that cold air. It will cool that water. You will be amazed at how quick it will drop the temperature in your water. By just adding that little bitty, I just hang it on the back of my daggum live well and hook it up, and it pulls cool air, and you can actually watch the thermometer temperature start dropping as it's blowing that cold air bubbles through your water. So in them warmer days, y'all tournament fishing, don't forget try that.
You could even run it out the bottom of your bait if you needed to, your bait cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, we all leave the drains open anyway, get the water out of there. You might as well have a little coil in the bottom of it, and it's a good idea.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of people think, well, I'll throw ice in there, but that ice don't last long. When you're throwing it in warm water, it don't last long, and it only drops usually the surface temperature down. Most people's Venturis is shooting out at the bottom, so that air comes up by your fish. This way right there, it's bringing that cool air and water right up through them fish's gills and stuff like that. It's something I tried, and I like the way it works. So, I try to pass along anything like that for people. Any other tricks that y'all can think about that maybe y'all do that you don't see much of that might help people as far as getting into tournament fishing for the first times? Or
don't get discouraged on your first couple tournaments. because you're going to go and you're going to get your butts whooped.
Oh,
Yeah.
Time
It's,
on the water. Time on the water.
that's a great one there. It really is. I have a question in chat, and Mr. Gadget wants to know what you guys feel like is the best Venturi system for live wells.
So I know a lot of guys use the Dancos. They're really good. They put off a lot of bubbles. That's personally what I have. I don't know much about the others, but I've seen some good reviews and know a couple guys that run those, and they pump the hell out of some bubbles.
Now
They do. They're really good.
what is the price range on those?
I want to say you can get the whole setup, the hose, and everything. It's not $28.99, like right $30, right around $30.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
No, that ain't bad at all.
No, you put them right in line with your fill, and they come with the hose, and it's hard to beat that setup.
What is the recommended pump size for them?
So whatever size pump you have, they offer different Venturis. So
Okay.
even if guys are running 500s or 800s and even 1200s, they got different ones to put in there.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Now, so how long y'all been fishing tournaments?
it's probably my third or fourth year, I guess. Really started off kind of slow, here and there, and thought it was kind of cool, and try to hit as many as I can now. And heck, we've been ever since this COVID. I've been 6 days a week. That's what I told Mike. You go catch us some bait, man, and we'll go try it. I'll be off this Saturday for once. It paid off, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Gadget wants to know where they get to order one from.
So I'm gonna say it's right off their websites. Where I got there is Danco Industries or something like that. I think's what it is.
Amazon has them also, or you can call
Yeah.
tank guy down there in Tennessee that makes all those bait tanks. The Shad Man or whatever.
Yeah, Jack.
No, well, I don't know if he's got them or not, but
I don't know.
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that do.
Right. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
they work really well. I use them on my bait tank at home as well. So
Oh yeah.
definitely recommend them.
They put out a lot of really fine bubbles, and according to everything that I've read, striper soup. Thanks, Hagen.
There you go.
The finer the bubble, the better, more dissolved it is in the water, and that's what you want for the fish. So, in my opinion, I would agree with that, and that also some of that has to do with the stone that you have in your live well to disperse that.
For your oxygen too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, if you think about it, if that bubble makes it to the surface of the water, the air went out here, not in your water.
That's right.
So yeah, the finer the mist, the better off you are.
Yep.
Oh, we got all kind of people. We got 81 people in here tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in.
Crowd. Everybody wants to know how to catch some big fish.
There you go. So, Mike, tell us what your biggest fish is, Mike. Now, we know what his biggest fish is now.
Yeah, mine's still at 46.
46? That's still a good fish. I don't
Flat.
care.
It is.
My flathead's 44 also.
Now, did you catch both of them bumping?
No, the 46 blue cat I did, but the flathead, he was on an anchor in late November.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Now, do you like anchor fishing, guys?
Yeah.
Or has it got its place?
When we have to, we will.
Right.
It's hard to sit and wait when you can feel like you're going and hunting them down, with
Right.
either bumping, or drifting, or you're presenting that bait to a lot more potential fish, in my opinion.
Right.
Even dragging up through there, you might drag a half-mile stretch. You could go in front of 100 fish. Whether you anchor, you might only look at 5 or 6 fish in that hole,
Well, what I was going to say is that, you hear a lot of people say, well, I see a lot of fish and I see a lot of people catching a lot of fish, but no monsters catching them, dragging and drifting. Well, y'all just proved that wrong, didn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, there's some guys out there that can anchor and catch some big fish, but That's just their technique they like to use. But
Whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you're confident in is
There you
another.
go.
There's another secret right there. You know,
Confidence is everything.
Yeah. Well, Larry Moose said he ain't had an anchor in his boat in many years, don't he, Lyle?
Well, and Carl Moore said the same thing.
Yeah. So
and these guys catch a lot of fish.
they put some big fish in the boat.
Yeah, they do.
I keep an anchor just in case I have malfunctions, I guess. Put it that way. You never know,
Right.
your battery will die. You've been out there bumping all day, and sometimes you just got to sit down and relax for a minute too.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Or after you put a 92 in the boat, you just let the boat keep drifting, and we're just looking at each other like we're
We just let the trolling motor off, and we just drifting down the river.
probably for 5 minutes. We're like, what the heck just happened?
We didn't know. We were fish drunk, I think.
I believe we was.
You have days like that, and you sit there and you got them fish in the boat, and people go by and they look at you like you got 3 heads because they know you're in a tournament and you're supposed to be fishing, but they don't realize you are, in your mind, you already got it won.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That's what.
So
when we went and weighed in early, we was gonna go back out. That was our plan. Go in and get them. We was gonna weigh just 3 fish because we had a small one. We was gonna save him and try to upgrade him. Then that scale hit 163.65 for 4 fish, and we looked at each other and said, "Well, if somebody beats us, they deserve it today."
I agree 100%. I really.
Yeah.
We're just gonna sit up here and we're gonna relax the rest of the day.
and talk about it.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. No
well,
kidding.
we talked about this before we went live. Let them know how far second place was behind y'all.
53 pounds.
Yeah, 53 pounds, I believe it was.
So
Everybody, you might
Third-
fish 20 or 30 more years and not even see anybody else beat the rest of the crowd like that.
yeah, that's so I've seen 5 fish weigh in, probably 56, probably 100 miles upriver, up above Cannleton Dam here in Indiana, and they had 5 fish for 165.
That's a great. That's 5 fish though.
Yeah, and we had 4
And
fish
I
for
tell you,
164 and some change.
If we would have remembered that, we would have probably went back out and caught that 15-pounder just to try to beat that.
Everybody was talking about how you'll never beat that 5 fish. Nobody will ever beat it. That was in one of our local tournaments. Them guys, we fished with them a lot, and they all, you could have beat it. You could have beat it. Well, we almost beat it with 4 fish. So
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, because that little small fish would have had a couple more pounds on him, you'd have got it.
Right.
oh, he wasn't but 3 pounds.
Right.
He was little. He was smaller than some of the bait we were using.
Little Bucket of Sunshine wants to know, do y'all fish year round, and where are y'all at? And where was y'all fishing when you caught this fish?
We're in southern Indiana. We was down at even southerner Indiana, I guess you could say, down in around the Mount Vernon area when we caught that fish. And yes, we fish year round. If we can use the boat ramp, we're going fishing.
I take off a little bit mid-November, do a little bit of deer hunting. I like to get in the woods too, but for the most part, the boat doesn't get winterized, and I stay fishing. And that's about the only way you can catch them. You can't catch them on the couch.
That's right. Chad would like to know, was the tourney below the final dam on the Ohio River?
No.
No, not nowhere near.
I think there's two or three dams
more.
still
Yeah.
down before Mississippi. Yeah.
He's trying to find your honey hole. He ain't kidding.
Hey, JT Meyer Dam.
Right,
There
JT
ain't
Meyer
there ain't no
Dam.
secret. You can see it in the video. We'll show you the name of it and everything.
Yeah, I have never been. I fished all over that Ohio River, and I've never been around that dam. So
that's a pool that we don't fish a lot. There's
No,
not a
we
lot of
don't.
tournaments down there. There's not. There's maybe one a year that guys have down that way, because we're mainly southern Indiana, and that's pretty much that's Illinois and Kentucky on both sides of us. Once you get to that dam, you don't have Indiana but for about 50 miles, and then you're in Illinois and Kentucky. So it's as south as you can go.
yeah. Anna would like to know what your favorite eater fish is.
Whatever you can get at the store, because I don't like cleaning them.
Yeah, me either.
To be honest with
Long John Silver's. How about that?
Yeah, y'all just fry them up and bring them to me.
you, that's right.
Oh, man, I agree.
Hey, I don't mind a bluegill, to be honest with you. I take the fin out the back and pull the guts out, cut the head off, and I pan fry them just like that. Scale them and eat their tails like potato chips once in a while. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I love
Bluegill and
old school bluegill. My grandpa taught me that way, to pan fry them in old cast iron pan, and man, they don't give
sir.
Well,
Take
Chad,
it.
you're just looking to know where
That
the
sounds
good
good.
nutrients are at. Sounds to me like you need to head south. You're too far north.
Yeah.
He's up around Cincinnati or some place like that. Hagen Grubb says, Captain D's. I'm with you, Hagen.
That's right.
You don't got to clean them. You don't got to scale them. You don't have to throw away the mess. You just chow down. If there's any left over, you can just throw it away.
That's
I don't know. You get into a big old mess of them big bluegill about double hand size like that, they worth the aggravation.
Yeah,
son.
They worth it. About once a year, I'm good for a fish fry. You can come on over, and I'll have some of them bluegill, maybe a few crappie.
That'd be all right.
You know, I like to have a fish fry once in a while. Invite a few people over, so I got a couple little local ponds that I'll go catch bluegill and crappie out of. I don't eat a whole lot of catfish, not at all, really.
You know, people talk about the coffee and how good they are, and they are. They're absolutely delicious. But there's not much better than them great big old bluegill. I mean, they've got that hump on the top of their head, and they're about 10, 12 inches long. They just don't get a lot better than that.
We ain't got a lot of them 10, 12 inches long around here. Ours are maybe 8. Be a big one around here. You guys down there in the south, you got some big ones.
We get them around here that size is farm ponds. You don't get them on public water. You got to get them out of a farm pond.
Oh yeah, that's where all mine go. A lot of times, if we're gonna do that, we'll set up the pot right there beside the pond. We'll have one guy catching, one guy cleaning, and one guy frying. Them suckers will be wiggling when they hit that grease, son.
Okay.
Hey, I don't even fillet them. I just pull the spine.
I don't either.
In out, and you take
That's what blows my mind. People will flay them off. I thought, man, you wasting all that good meat. Well, it's too big. I said, well, cut them like you do a flounder. Just put you some slices through that meat. Oh, lay that fillet off after they're fried.
That's right. Take your thumb right on the back and just split it right off the side.
Yeah.
That's
See, you making all of us hungry now.
Oh, I know it. I ain't ate dinner yet. I just got off work.
Now, do y'all ever use any other baits or anything when you're out there fishing than skipjack?
Oh yeah, you got to use that shad. Got to use them bluegills.
Depends on the time of year around here, really. If the skipjack are running at the dams, we're using skipjack. But now here another few weeks, in skipjack, you're not gonna be able to find them. And really, this year is kind of different because most of the time, first week of October, you're not gonna find them. That shad bite's coming around, and you're not gonna catch one on skipjack. You're gonna catch them on the shad. That high protein, and just depends on what's in the area. Even Asian carp in the hot summer.
Yes.
You know, I'm not afraid to fillet one of them suckers either.
Me either.
Yeah, and you know, that's something. So I take it y'all cannot use game fish where you're at.
No.
Yeah, Chad and them, if y'all don't mind, post up Mike's channel on here so people can go check him out. Got some great videos, some good fish on there.
Yeah, they've been keeping up with that. Bless their hearts.
Yeah,
Chad and Dee and them guys, all of them that do that. Appreciate you guys taking care of that for us. Mark, he's another.
Anybody can share a link. I need my drag rebuilt in this here 5600 Abu Garcia. I think it was smoking after we got done fighting that fish. Just to be honest with you, it's gonna need some new drag dip next year. Hey, a little 5600. Look at that. I like to keep it lightweight, simple. Like I said, on the B&M bumping rod.
Wow.
Little 8-odd ripping lip hook.
That is a lightweight reel.
Oh, yeah. Little chain swivel right here in the middle. I don't know if we can see that or not. It's kind of tough.
Is that a 3-way? I can't see it real good.
Well, You got
Yeah, we got
got
a
a
three-way.
three-way up here at the top that goes down to your little cannonball.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a chain swivel, ball chain swivel in the middle just to help with that bait spinning down there.
Yep.
I bought this ball chain swivel that morning from Blackout Bait and Tackle. Had a little table set up there at the tournament. And I said, man, I need some of those if we're going to be bumping today. And I guess it paid off.
Heck yeah.
Now, how long you run your leaders from like your swivel down to your weight and from your swivel out to your hook? Y'all normally run.
See, I'd say my hook is probably 3 foot, 2.5, 3 foot, 30 inches, something like that. And I got my sinker set up on probably 14 or 15, about half the sinker to the leader. However you like it. It's what I like to use anyway.
So when y'all bumping, y'all don't use no kind of float or nothing on your line. You're just allowing the bait to be a natural flow through the water.
Make it as natural as possible. Let that little sinker down soft and let the bait do the business.
Right. You know, one of my favorite ways of fishing is the free lining without no sinker or nothing. Just a good swivel and that's it, and a heavier leader. That right there to me is almost the same presentation, except you're keeping it lower in the water column. You're giving it more of that natural presentation down through that water. Where a Carolina rig or a Santee rig, it seems like it looks more restricted, even though the fish don't really care. To me, I think there's times that they are picky about that. Maybe it's more the clear water than the dingy water. I don't know.
So we had 2 drifting rods out as well because there wasn't a whole lot of current. We put some heavy, what we have, like some 10 or 12 ounce sinkers on them, and we were straight lining down to the bottom, and we didn't get no bites on that. We're going over the same fish, talking about presentation and fish being picky. We caught 1 fish that way, but everything else came off bumping, that natural presentation going downriver.
There you go, guys. There you go. It's sometimes it's the little bitty details that might change your whole day of fishing. Same baits, just a different presentation to these fish is what got the fish in the boat for these guys.
I mean, we like to drift with the bait maybe, 3-4 foot up off the bottom, just and it's bumping. It's down on the bottom. It's in the mud,
Yeah.
Right.
I always like to say a good day's bumping when if you get to keep that same sinker all day. That sinker is about half of what it used to be because it's been beating off the bottom so long.
There you go. Junior Parker wanted to know, do y'all ever suspend fish?
Oh yeah, that's what we got. That's what we call our
side.
drifting rods.
Our drift is suspended drifting is what we were doing off the side of the boat. We had 2 of those out all day. Caught one pretty nice flathead suspended actually up a little closer to the dam.
Now, what's your tied up rig for you suspend fishing? Are you Carolina rigging them and the baits underneath the weight, or are you like a Kentucky rig, basically what y'all was doing drifting?
Well, I had a Kentucky rig tied on all day, and I didn't get a bite on my drifting rig. He had the Carolina rig set up, and he got that flathead to bite on his. So
that's just a confidence thing too. I think I like the bait to be down there on the bottom. The lower it can be, the better. I do it both ways, really. I use a Kentucky rig with the weight on the bottom and maybe a double hook Kentucky rig sometimes, where you got one that's a foot or so up off the sinker and the other one up a few more feet. Just depends on where the fish are. Sometimes they're up and moving, and other times they're hunkered down there just eating whatever comes by.
Did any of them fish covered up in mud yet?
No,
I didn't have any.
We had a little cold front come through, and I thought it was going to shut them down, but I think it kind of got them feeding a little bit.
I think so too.
They were moving. A lot of guys caught a lot of fish. The second place team, they caught 20 fish or something. Had 111 pounds. They had a nice bag too. That's
just catfishing says, and I think we've covered this, but said, is it always bumping for you, or do you guys use any other style of fishing?
Nah, we'll do what the river tells us to do.
There you go, and it will tell you what to do if you just listen.
When there's no current, I'm dragging boards, a couple sets of planer boards out the back, dragging up river. The current's above a mile an hour, I'm probably bumping. Anything in between, we're going to suspend drift.
Mike Costello Outdoors wants to know if you prefer night or daytime fishing. Which one do you like the best?
Summertime, you gotta get out there at nighttime for me. I'm a big boy, you know, that water leaks off of me pretty easy. So
Yeah, I understand completely.
It gets hot and muggy around here in the summertime. We try to go night fishing when it's summer.
Yeah, I understand that.
Be careful because we do have barge traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do y'all ever do much lake fishing, or do you just mainly you're a river fisherman?
We ain't really got any lakes around here that's gonna excite us. We go catch some bluegill, or you go catch some real small, some fish and wildlife areas, but most of the time it's river fishing.
Amazon Catfish, he must have come in a little bit late. If you don't mind, Jake, tell them what kind of boat you're fishing out of right quick.
Oh, it's actually old 1993 Crestliner Sport Fish. It's a 17.5-foot deep V, double windshield. Got a little 115 on the back of it. Got it built a live well up in the front myself, up in front of the windshields. Built me a live well, and the back of it's just open floor plan. Got plenty of room for that fish to get in there and flop, slime it all up.
What kind of floor you got in that? I know some people are starting to go with this vinyl flooring and stuff like that. I just wonder how that vinyl flooring works with the catfish slime.
Well, I don't have vinyl myself, but I took all my wood out and put down aluminum diamond plate. Just left it raw and put down some aluminum. I figured it'd last longer than me that way. No wood to mess with.
I had the vinyl in that Alumacraft before we sold it, and you just take a pressure washer and hose it out. Just like I'm not saying that it was as easy to maintain as, say, some of the bed liner material, but it was pretty easy. You just wash it out and it runs.
I just wonder if it's slick when you get that slime on the floor and stuff like that.
Mine wasn't, but these guys with these boat manufacturers, they have special stuff designed not to be slick. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't make it slick if you was playing around or something, doing something you wasn't supposed to be, but we never had any problems with it being slick. Not that I remember. And if I'd have busted my old tired butt, I'd have remembered that, I'm pretty sure.
That's right.
Yeah. I just wonder, usually with vinyl and water or vinyl and catfish slime. Of course, catfish slime's slick. It don't matter what you put it on. But
that's what Kevin from Palmetto Cat says. Everything is slick when it's got catfish slime on it. He is 100% correct. But now we got such a deal on when we redone our inside of our boat that I went ahead and put carpet back in it because I have a power washer. But if that doesn't hold up or we don't like it, when I pull it out, it will be bed lined the next trip. But yeah. I won't put the bed lining on the sides. I like the carpet because it's so much quieter.
Yeah, I actually it's all diamond plate. I did the sides and everything. I did it all myself. But I was a little wondering about if it'd be slick or not. Everybody, it's going to be slick, but it's not. I mean,
I had that monster kit. I didn't find it very slick.
No, and you'd think it'd be hot because it's kind of shiny aluminum, but I walk around in a boat with no shoes on in the summertime, and it's not bad at all.
It's reflecting the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not bad at all.
Now it'll cook you in the boat. It gets you. It's hot when you're sitting there, but it's not hot on your skin or feet or nothing like that.
But so will the water if it's blaring off.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, at least you get an even suntan while you're out there anyway, from top and the bottom.
You don't have to rotate.
Kind of like baking fish in the oven.
Appreciate you coming in, little bucket of sunshine. What's the biggest advice you could give to someone that wants to go bumping baits instead of drifting as usual?
Good question.
Get a good bumping rod. Find you some current and go practice. Because you're going to get hung up at first, and you're going to not be able to feel the bottom. If you got to use a little bit heavier sinker at first, use it.
Slow the boat down a little bit more, get a heavier sinker on there. And when I take a bumping rod with you, you got to take 2 bumping rods, take 2 bumping rods. Don't take any catfish rods because if you do, you're going to end up catfishing. That's why I took 2 bumping rods with me the very first time I went out and tried it. Got over on a little sand flat. We had about 1.5 mile current. Slowed the boat down to about 0.9 and just went to town. Didn't catch anything big, but I caught a bunch of little channel cats, but I got the feel for it.
Practice,
and you got to have a good trolling motor. You got to be able to slow the boat down, and it's nice to be able to hit a north button or something along them lines to just keep you going where you don't really have to think about it, and just up and down off the bottom. It'll wear your arm out. My arm was cramping up about a minute into that fight, and I'm trying to switch over to the other side, and you got bump with your left hand, bump with your right. It's
during that fight of that 92, I'm asking, man, you got the trolling motor shut off? He said, not yet. He reaches up to get ready to shut that trolling motor off. About that time, that fish tried to make a run on him, and he's, so here, let me get that for you.
Well, that's one of the things that I seem to always forget if I'm catching a fish and running a trolling motor is to shut the trolling motor off.
Me too.
Sometimes when I'm not catching the fish and I'm running the dip net, I forget to shut it off. And it makes it a lot easier on whoever's reeling it in to shut it off.
Well, I mean, when you're bumping, you're going downriver anyway. But this fish, we shut it off, and he went upriver. So I almost had to go chase him upriver.
Yeah.
He took off. I was up in the front of the boat dancing around fighting this thing.
Creole Catfish wants to know what type of trolling motor do you guys use when you're bumping to control your boat?
I have a Minn Kota Tarova. It's an 80-pound thrust, 24 volt. It's not they got some nicer models, I suppose, or newer models, but it has the spot lock and the GPS, and you can mark your trail and all that stuff with it.
Download it.
Yeah, you can control it off your smartphone like everything else nowadays.
I don't think mine's new enough for that.
It's if you have the link, I think.
No. As long as it's what they call, if it's got the little Bluetooth up on the head, you can download the app.
Yeah, I don't think mine's got that. But the reason I didn't when I repaired it and upgraded it to some stuff is I was just going to buy another new one. And the guy said, man, I wouldn't do that. He said, I'd be spending money on it. He said, the motor that's on yours, you can't get no more.
Right.
As old as it is, it's never been touched. And as long as you're alive, you'll probably never touch it. Why would you ever do anything other than fix that one? And I took him at his word. He says, you can't buy a motor that will last as long as that one will last because it's one of the best ones they ever made. They quit making them. So I took him at his word, and here we are still using it years later.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you ever find out what happened the day of the tournament down there, Law? Why it shut off
I
on you?
haven't looked at it no more. My shoulder got to bother me, and I never bothered it anymore.
I didn't know if you had got a chance to look at it or not.
No, I just had too much stuff going on. But I'll look at it one of these days when I get to feel a little bit better, get to wanting to go fishing. And because I usually won't go out if I don't know that it's available in case something would happen to the big motor.
That's right.
Creole wanted to know, do y'all ever use the head locking for directional control?
The head lock.
That would be the north button.
Like the north button, that north button is a lifesaver.
That's how we were doing it. We'd pull up river and hit the north button, slow the boat down just a little bit less than the current, and bump away.
Yep.
So when you say you got 1.5 miles current, what do you try to keep your boat at? You know, I guess what I'm asking is, what is your percentage of change that you want to keep it at within there?
I've always said just drop it in half. That's the way I do it on my boat. If I got 1.5 miles current, I try to drop it to about 0.7.
Okay.
So we didn't have a whole lot of current, to be honest. That's why we're all the way down with a 2 ounce and big baits trying to get it to pull it back. So we probably had 0.6, 0.7 current, and we were bumping at 0.4, 0.5. Had it about cut in half. We were kind of slow presentation, really, but it works.
Junior wants to know what kind of hooks are y'all using for your bumping.
So it's actually the first tournament I've used these hooks, and I got them. Somebody recommended them to me. It's the Rip and Lip 8-aught hook. I'm having a hard time finding anything sharper than them. They kind of just came out with them, and it's a really sharp hook. I haven't found one with a defect. I'm not sponsored by these guys. I have no affiliations at all. I'm a worker 7 days a week. I don't do a lot of that promotion and stuff, but it's what I'm confident in, and it works.
I'm still a Gamma guy. I like them Gamatsus.
So, Mike, are you using circle hooks or are you using the big river hooks?
I'm just using the circle hooks.
I love Gumbo. I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, I broke one or I've had them to break on me. And I never had none to break. Of course, I ain't hooking up some of the fish that they do. But I always wondered if it ain't because they've grabbed them hooks with a metal pair of pliers.
Right.
And scarred them.
I had them break, and that wasn't the case with me, but I haven't had them break in years and years and years, and I have never had one of their big river hooks break, ever.
And did you break it on a fish?
Yes.
Really?
Not that big fish.
I broke some hooks on snags or something when I'm drifting and broke a hook, I've never broke one on a fish. I don't.
Yeah, I haven't in years. But I think they had a run back, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe it wasn't that long. But they had a run where everybody's complained about them breaking. And I had some, and one of them broke. I only had one break. That's all it took for me.
Right.
But, I haven't
had
any break in years and years, and I'm not a bit afraid to use Gamakatsu stuff and their big river hook. That is one of the, in my opinion, for a J hook, it's the greatest J hook ever made. And I use them bumping just because when it's hard for me to lay off of them when I'm bumping and they're trying to take that rod away from me, and I can lay it on them, and if it touches skin, it's stuck. I mean, they are by far the sharpest hook I've ever used. And I've got some red ones here that I bought 2 packages of in a tournament, had 2 bites, 2 big fish, never got either one of them to boat. That first package ended up in the river when we was fishing that tournament. The second one got lost in the boat, and I give it to 2 or 3 people, then couldn't find it. And my son was down here over the weekend, and when we redone parts in the boat, I found it and laid it in here on a shelf. And he said, Dad, I need some books. I will take them. So he's now the proud owner of them. But
I hear you.
Yeah,
I think people don't realize you can put too much temper in metal, and you make it almost like glass.
Well, anybody can have a run of bad stuff. Anybody can have a run of bad stuff. And I think that's probably what happened to those. They had a run of bad ones, and some of them may still be floating around. I mean,
Probably.
you don't know, but you don't
making millions at a time.
Breaking anymore. You did for a while, but I think they're pretty much past all that. They probably got it fixed, whatever the issue was.
Hey, I seen a question that wasn't addressed to us, but I'll try to. Somebody asked about bumping while the boat is stationary from an anchored position.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that too. That's pretty good. I like doing that. I could drop a couple rods out the side and bump one out the back while the boat's anchored.
Yep.
That worked pretty good for me too.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys run dead sticks out the side of the boat when you're bumping?
Yes.
We had 2 dead sticks going.
Yeah, me too. And there's days when they're more productive than the bumping rods.
Hey, sometimes we put them 12 ounces on there and put it down there and let it eat.
Well, Harold Dodd told me one time, he said, when you're using dead sticks, it doesn't matter if it takes 2, 4, 6, or 24 ounces. Whatever it takes to make it go straight down. If it's not going straight down, it's not doing you any good.
That's right.
And I believe Harold, and that's the way we've always done it. Now, a lot of times we don't have to use 24 ounces, but I have used 24 ounces and an extra one to get it to go down, to stay straight down in that hot current. I know, Mike, you've seen that stuff.
Yep.
I've used electrical tape on a no roll to make it a 16 several times. Take an 8 ounce to a 16 with a couple strips of electrical tape.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Palmetto wants to know, do you ever bump vertical going with the current speed and bouncing the weight off the bottom?
I have done that. One of the very first times I went with a guy 5 years ago, we was doing it right beside the boat. But here lately, I like it to be out behind the boat if I'm going to do it.
So to me, that's kind of straight sticking. You just happen to have the rod in your hand.
Yeah.
just
Right.
off
Yeah.
the bottom. Hey,
Yeah.
there ain't nothing like it when they hit it and you got it in your hand. I'll tell you that.
That's exactly right. Wicked Catfishing says, is there a preferred line for bumping? Is using braid for the extra sensitivity worth it, or can you use mono? Well, in my mind, mono won't work for bumping. In my mind, I'll get you guys' opinion on that.
I'm straight braid.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. You want that braid.
Yeah, it's just too much more sensitive.
You don't want any stretch. You want to be able to feel what you got down there.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
only thing I use.
There's sometimes you're walking that bait so far out behind you
Yeah.
that you would almost run out of mono if you're not bumping with the 7,000.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I don't want anything that heavy on a bumping rod, but I the leader is the only kind of mono that I want, and I usually don't have a long enough one on it. The stretch is going to make that much of a difference.
Right. About 3 foot's the longest leader I'll put on my hook.
Bumping, yeah. Now I know guys that'll use a lot longer ones than that, but I don't.
Well, you need to try some of that, Andy, if you want some very low stretch line that if it says it's 50-pound break, that's probably where it's going to break right there, 49 and a half to 50 to 50 and a half, that line, and it don't have a lot of stretch. It's a very, I don't know, I like it. I don't like that. I mean, I'm not knocking no other lines. A lot of people love the stretchier line, like the slime lines and stuff. I don't like it. I think if it stretches and don't come back, it's weak. It's created a weak spot.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Once you stretch it one time, you better put something else on there.
I agree with
it makes
that.
it weak. I mean,
one of the lines that I used to use a lot was that red line. What do they call that stuff?
Cajun.
I used it a lot. But if you stretched it 2 or 3 times, it'd break.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just using Big Game. Berkeley Big Game, 60
One
pounds.
of the greatest lines it was ever made.
And
it seems like their 20 and 30-pound line. I've heard people talk about it. It's almost like they've changed their formula. It's got a lot more memory than it ever used to have, and they're having problems with the stretch on it.
Hell, James, I'm biting such big spools. It'll last me so long, I wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah, because you don't use nothing but liters of it. That's all.
That's exactly right. And I got to tell you, Tony Caton sent me a couple of spools of the 60-pound slime line a couple years ago, and that's all we've used for leader material since then. And I've had really, really good luck with it. Now, I'm excited to get a hold of some of his leader material line. And the reason is I used some of it from a guy one time, and I was amazed at how easily you could tie knots with it because my old fingers don't work like they used to be. And some of these lines are so heavy and so stiff, it's hard to get them to cinch down. But that stuff, man, it would just cinch down and stayed put. Didn't loosen back up. So I'm anxious to try some of that. I don't have any of it yet, but I'm going to be getting some and try that because I think that I like to use heavier leader line than a lot of people do because, well, like Mike and you guys know, you get to bumping and you're going to get in some stuff. And get it out. You don't want to damage that line, and you want to check it. And if you're retying all the time, I want something that's easy to retie and holds the knot good.
Yeah, I've heard that's some good line. Their later material lines are. I haven't come across it either. I guess because I'm like you, I got a big spool of that other to tie my leaders, and it'll be a while before I run out of it. But
right,
keep it out of the sun, and it'll last forever.
Yeah, my most of the time, unless we're going somewhere, and then I put it in a duffel bag. It keeps everything in. But it's just like hooks. Why buy them 3 at a time when you can buy them 100 at a time and save yourself some money?
Oh yeah, agreed.
I know, like there's certain areas I know that if I'm going to go bumping at, I'll sit at home the night before and I'll tie up 20 bumping rigs.
Yep.
Just because I don't want to be out there tying them up. They take so long to tie up.
That's right.
And especially if it's getting cold, your fingers get stiff. Man, the way I put a polymer knot on everything except the hook. The hook gets the snail.
Yep, I agree.
I was hoping you'd tell me you use the uni knot. That's my favorite knot.
No,
That uni knot. I love it.
That
I've never
polymer
had it
knot's
to
hard to
slip.
beat.
So what? Yeah, that polymer knot's a good knot. It sure is. I guess that was one of the first knots that one old big Bassmaster guy taught me how to use. He said, "You learn to use that knot, you won't never need anything else." And I can
That's
tie it in
right.
the dark with my eyes shut.
Yep.
It's about the only
where I am with the polymer
knot.
knot.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I see that's the line with a Palomar knot. I can tie it with my eyes closed.
Yep. And that's good. I mean, it's like anything else, guys and gals. You've got tools of the trade, whether it's your rod, whether it's your line, your hook, your boat, anything you got, look at it as a tool. You got to have the proper tool of the trade to get the job done.
That's right.
You can use cheaper tools to get that job done, and it might get that job done once, might get it done twice, but the third time might be that world record that you lose because of it. Get the best of what you can get. Save your money. Go to the pawn shops. If I find most of my stuff, my reels, 6500s, at a pawn shops. And I got a feeling in the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing a lot of that in pawn shops because everybody's been buying because they've been at home because of COVID. They've been out fishing. They've been spending that money. So,
Right.
But get the best you can get for the money. But the main thing is get out and enjoy the day of fishing. And have fun like these two guys done when they caught that 92. I had a blast watching.
Yeah, we had fun all day long, though. That 92 was just icing on the cake. That just put us over the edge. We was, man.
Yeah, you guys had a heck of a day.
High on life right there.
I mean, I think total, we caught, I think it was a 3, 4, 5 pounder, whatever it was. And there was a 23-pound flathead, like a 18-pound blue, 30-pound blue, 43-pound blue, and then that freaking 92. It was, I mean,
About
five
220,
overs.
about 220 pounds and 5 fish, really.
Mike, if that don't become your best video or most viewed video, I will be surprised.
Yeah, it's already hit almost 900 views in 24 hours. So
Yeah,
did pretty good. That's pretty good for me.
yeah, that's an awesome fish, and like I say, you guys was having a hell of a day before that thing come along. So
We had 100, maybe 100, 105 pounds before that fish. We had to throw over.
sorry for Mike because I've never seen a video where he's sitting there doing all the netting, and I'm thinking, what's
It's just how it worked out that day.
That's how it
It
worked out.
is, and the next time it may be the other way. You never know.
And you touched on it earlier about when you're in a tournament and you're fishing, it's about putting fish in the boat. And I don't know how many times Mike said, I don't care if you catch them all, we're putting fish in the boat.
That's right.
What it's all about.
That's correct.
It's a team
Daniel,
effort.
I want to thank you for your compliment, Daniel Ishmael. Somebody had another question. What's an important thing to consider in a bumping reel?
That's a great.
Thumb bar.
Yeah.
For me, it's a thumb bar. You want to be able to a thumb bar.
Yeah.
You want to be able to quick release. Be able to, you sit there and bump with your left hand only. You want to be able to quick release that let line out. You can just pop it if you have to, but you want that thumb bar. That's number one for me.
And lightweight.
Yeah, because you're sitting there doing that all for hours
all day long. That's why I don't use nothing more than a 5600 little video reel. Look at it. It's small, but it's got the thumb bar that Mike's talking about, and it's lightweight.
I have a couple of thumb bar reels that I have used for bumping. One of the reasons why I went back to using the 6500 line counter is because of the line counter. The other one is it holds so much more line. The ones that I was using that had the thumb bar on them did not hold enough line, and I'd been spooled a time or two, and that don't work out real well for me.
Got to remember to turn that trolling motor off.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
you told on yourself earlier. You told on yourself. I said, I always forget.
Well, if Cindy's in the boat, you turn it off. She's letting me know, because usually when I forget, it's when she has a fish on and she don't want to fight in the current. And I've had Bill Dance and Jeff Dodd pull up beside me when she had one on one time and chewed me up one side down the other for not going to the fish. And I said, man, you think that's the only one she ever caught? But little did they know that she was doing the vertical bumping straight down off the side when she caught that fish. And it wasn't very far out, but man, they was all over me that I should take that boat to her. Well, it was already there. You know, it was right under us, but she fought it. They pulled up right beside us and watch her catch that. And it was a great fish. But I was looking at Doc and he was looking at me, and I said, man, they don't have a clue. But when you're that close to them guys and you look over on the other side of them is Daryl and Jason Massengill, you got a pretty good idea you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got some experience there for sure.
Yeah. And we was all catching fish that day. Come tournament day, wasn't quite the same way, but that's the way it works sometimes.
Yep. Now, what's the furthest out you allow your baits to get when you're bumping like that you don't want to go too much further past that?
If I can feel it, I'll let it go.
That's right.
If I look down on my reel and I've only got a wrap or two left, I'm like, well, maybe I need to start over there.
100%. Yeah.
And
I put it way back there. I've had over 400 feet behind the boat before on them line cam.
Yeah.
And you still feel that you've got enough control bumping that far out behind you?
I can still feel the bottom.
Yeah, if you can feel the bottom, you got it. If you get a nice bumping rod with lightweight and
these rods are so sensitive.
Yeah.
As long as
guys, you know as well as I do that comes from doing a lot of it and practice for hours.
I know that the first dozen times I went out, I spent more time tying rigs on than anything else, because every little this and that, I was stuck in it. And I'll tell you.
A lot of guys, I tell them, if you can't feel the bottom, you're not doing any good. Put more weight on it.
Yeah.
And then when you get more adjusted to it, start taking it off. I've taught a bunch of people how to bump, and they want to start out with a 2 or 3 ounce weight. I said, you can't, not on the Mississippi River where I bump, you can't do that.
Put a 5 or 6 on there, maybe.
That's right. And then take it back until you can't feel it and reel it up and start all over.
Right.
And just keep doing that until you can feel it way behind you, and then reel it up one time and put a 5 on it or a 4
my favorite thing is teaching somebody to bump, and then when they sitting there bumping and they got that reel and not engaged and that fish hits and they want to let go, then they just got a big bird's nest.
Oh, man.
You warn them, but it's going to scare the shit out of them first off. Whoa.
Mike, usually that happens. It's one of my reels.
Yeah, well.
I know you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
But you just straighten it out and go on because you want them to be successful. I've like I say, I've showed a lot of people how to do it, and some people, Cindy was one of them, picked it up in minutes. And others, it takes a couple of hours before they really understand. And those guys, I just keep making the weight on the end of it heavier until they can say, oh yeah, I can feel it hit. Well, if you're not feeling hit, you're not doing it right.
Right. So I hadn't been bumping since early in the year. We hadn't had much current around here. I've been dragging baits for the most time. And that first fish that hit kind of scared me a little bit. It started, whoa, that's a fish. That's what it does when it's in your hand. It kind of startles you the first time for sure.
Especially if you've been doing it for, 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. You done got that rhythm going and bam.
Whoa, what happened?
Well, another thing, Mike, that I noticed that happened to me and some other people is once in a while you'll get one that'll actually pick that bait up and start swimming to you.
Yeah, that's exactly
when you notice that's happened, you better get to cranking that reel and catch up with him, because the next thing you know, he's in front of the boat going away. And he's going to got 4 or 5 lines tangled up if you're doing any dead sticking.
No, that's what that 92 did. But when I started reeling, it didn't start coming my way. He kept He actually ended up tangled up in my suspended rod from the opposite side of the boat.
Oh wow! But yeah, they'll.
Then he started pulling up river, and I'm looking back at that rod, and it's sitting there dancing. I just kept reaching back there and free spooling it.
Yeah.
And out of 50 or so yards, and then keep. Man, that was awesome. That was
Yeah,
just awesome.
we was talking about dead sticking and bumping, and I'm going to say something for guys that want to try that's never done it before. I would recommend that you put them rods in a rod holder in front of your boat, away from where you're bumping, so you don't run into issues like that. And I would also recommend that you do not do that or try it until you're fully confident you know how to bump and do it correctly, because it'll get you in trouble. First thing that happen is you'll set that bumping rod down and you'll go to get that other, and then by the time you pick it up, it's way behind you. You're tangled up and you've got a mess, and you really have to know what you're doing to be able to dead stick and bump at the same time. You really do.
We've gotten so good to the point now we'll be bumping and we're like, man, I think we could put out a drift rod. So we pull the sleeve off of it with one hand, slide it in the rod holder, cutting a piece of bait, slide it over there, then dropping it down all while you're still bumping.
You guys been doing it together a while then. If you guys do it out like that.
He'll have a fish on, and he'll just say, if it's you can tell when it's a nice fish 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
He'll say, keep on bumping.
Yeah.
It'd be a smaller fish, and I'll just keep bumping. He'll net it and land it himself, and we'll just keep going downriver until we find that bite we're looking for.
That's exactly right. And you might not find it that day, and it may be the next one, just like happened to you guys.
That's right.
So what I'm going to take away from this is that your longer lines like that, y'all feel that you're getting a better presentation to the fish being further out away. The reason that you're drifting that far out, or?
Personally, I feel like if you're getting that far away, you need to speed the boat up a little bit. Slow your trolling motor down and speed the boat up some. I don't like it way out there too much. I mean, I don't mind it, but
right.
I'm pretty comfortable not too far out the back of the boat. I don't mind either way.
Most of the time when I get way out there, I got it spot locked, and we don't have a lot of current, but there's enough to spot lock it and walk it out there. And I'll walk it out so I don't have anything left, and then I'll reel it back in.
Might walk it down into a hole or something like that. It's back there. But if I get a lot of line out, I just slow the trolling motor down and actually speed the boat up and catch up to it for the most part.
I like bumping through holes, and I like bumping off of drop offs too.
Yeah, that's what that was. Every time we hit that little, it wasn't no more than a 5-6 foot drop off. Every time we hit it, we were catching a fish.
Man, that's awesome. Amazon Catfishing, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, Lyle, you was talking about a little while ago, then fish grabbing and then swimming towards you. Back when I bass fished a lot, and I was teaching some guys how to worm fish, and I'd tell them, don't take but one rod with you, a fanny pack full of worms, hooks, and weights, bullet weights. Don't take nothing else with you. Force yourself to learn that bottom. And I said, but there's going to be a lot of times when all of a sudden it feels like something cut your line.
Yes.
That there's nothing else, like just nothing on there. I said, when they do, reel down, set the hook, because he's got it in his mouth. Is that the same way as what you're talking about when you're bumping? All of a sudden, you might not feel nothing.
That's right.
And he's got it.
I've had it to where I've been bumping, and you feel the initial bite. So you start to reel down. You reel 5, 6, 7, sometimes up to 10, 15 times, and you don't feel him. So then you start trying to let line back out to find that bottom, and you're like, you can't find that bottom. So you just start to reel it in to find bottom. Oh, shoot, there's a fish.
That's right.
He was coming up and at you at the same time, and you just
Yep.
Dang.
So
it's learning what you are feeling. It's all of that.
So to be quite honest, that 92 felt like a log, and I wasn't real sure. So I'm bumping down through there, and I felt it was a real soft bite. I felt a little bite, and I held the rod tip up to try to let it load up using a circle hook, and it never loaded up. I reeled down on it, and it didn't move. So man, that's a snag. And then he took off upriver.
when that hook really went in his ass, he started.
That's right. Once he realized he was hooked, there was no more playing around. It really did feel like a log. It didn't move, didn't budge.
Wow.
when he finally started coming up and decompressing, it looked like a jacuzzi next to the boat. I mean, he was letting off the most bubbles, and that's a big fish. Look at them bubbles. I mean, it looked like a hot tub next to the boat.
Now, how deep was y'all bumping through this hole? How deep was it?
It wasn't but 35, 36 foot.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a fun day, don't it, Lyle?
It does. It does. And I'm going to get down and Mike and I are going to get together one of these days and go out for a day fishing. I think that would be such a great time. Him and I get out in the boat, maybe Cindy and somebody else would want to go along. And as far as that goes, Mike and I could sit in the front of the boat, and whoever else is with us could do the fishing. We just sit there and shoot the bull and probably have fun.
Well, I tell you, if I live closer, I like to go out and y'all two be sitting back there bumping. I just like to be the cameraman. Do some good video work.
We're gonna hear some Ric Flairs, that's for sure.
Well, Mike, you don't hear that very often. Who when you're bumping, who wants to run the video camera? No.
Yeah, you come on down and do that, whatever you want.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because what I'm hearing is a lot of good knowledge that can be passed along to people that want to learn how to do this bumping, and what better than two experienced fishermen out there. To me, that would be good video content that people could learn from. Now, it might be a lot of beep beeps and bleep bleeps in there, but
Hey, anybody around here wants to go fishing, wants to learn how to bump, get a hold of me or Mike. We love to fish. I've taken 5 or 6 new guys from work and from here and there, and now they're tournament fishers with us. They're hooked.
Right. That's right.
I mean,
there you go. That's awesome.
I'll take it. You know, some guys might not like it, and other guys, they catch that one, not even just their first catfish, 10-pound blue cat, and they're hooked forever, you know?
oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And especially when you guys have got current down there, it's 1-2 mile an hour, 3 sometimes, unless it's flooded. But when I'm out where we bump, it's 6, 8, 10 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So a
If
10
you got a mile an hour current, you can't get in the river around here. It's
right.
Man,
it's big.
It's blowed out. It's mainly 2 mile an hour rough.
Yeah.
About how it goes around here.
And that's perfect for somebody to learn on.
That's right.
It's perfect.
We need to get together where the Mississippi and Ohio meet and do a little fishing.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd be good on that. That's a
Yeah.
great area, too. There's a lot of great fish in there.
So I've never been down that way, but I know that's kind of a couple hours down from us and be a little closer to you anyway.
Yeah, I New Madrid's a great place to fish, and all along down through there is just awesome fishery.
You know, anytime you get two good waters that come together like that, it would have to be a key spot to fish.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of granaries down through there, so granaries are a great place to take somebody that wants to catch fish, because usually there's a bunch of fish in them.
And you'll mess around and find the big one, but you're going to usually have bites all day sitting at a granary.
Yeah, you can go in there and catch them smaller fish all day long, and every once in a while you'll hit a 40 or 50 or bigger. And yeah.
Now, I've heard them daggone grain-fed fish will make a mess and a stinking mess in the bottom of your boat, too, won't they?
It ain't no real bottom of your live well.
Yeah, and they stink, too. Ooh-wee. Man, they're rough. They are, but it's, if you're in a tournament, you forget all about that when you go to weigh in.
Yeah.
That's sure.
Yeah.
Last year we had a tournament where we caught one of those fish, and he let it all out all over the boat. He's stoked like walking out. And we look funny because we put that fish back in the water and fish here to clean him off. People are looking, what in the world are they doing over there? Man, we got cleanings. Man.
Something done happened to their mic. Sound like Donald Duck over there talking.
Yeah, I wonder when that happens if their phones don't get hot. I don't know that's it, but I wonder about that. I know it's happened to several people using a phone, and I'm assuming Mike's using a phone.
I just unplugged it. Does that make a difference?
Nope. Nope. Sound like Daffy Duck.
Yep.
We the biggest Daffy Ducks ducks you've ever seen.
Y'all sucking on helium balloons before you talk. What it sounds like. But it has been a great show, guys.
Yes, it has.
A lot of great information is being gone out tonight. A lot of great information. I learned a lot, even though I might not ever get to bump. I still took in a lot of great information. I've seen a few people talking about they was taking notes tonight. I hope that we can bring more shows to these people where they can take notes.
Yeah.
And want to take notes and learn from some great fishermen like the two guys we had on here tonight, Lyle.
Yep.
They entertained us. They give us a lot of great information. Guys, check out their channels. Watch their videos. They make you feel like you're right there in the boat with them, laughing, having fun. Sound like now, with the 92, they sound like a bunch of little teenage girls in there screaming and cackling and stuff. But that's okay. They had a great time. And it filled my heart with it because I thought, man, I'd just like to be in the boat just watching this because too much fun. Great fun. Great show tonight, guys. I had a blast.
You having us on.
Hey, man, we appreciate it. Junior Proctor has another question, wants to know from Jacob, what size leader was you using from your swivel to your weight and the same to the hook?
So from the swivel down to my weight, I got 30 pound and then about 16 inches or so. And then on my main leader line, I got 60 pound big game, and it's probably 32 inches. I like to keep them about half and half. So if I got 10 inches, I'll go 20. If I got 2 foot, I'll go 4 foot on my leader. About half to half.
Yep, that's great information. I know Junior will appreciate that.
I like to try to keep that leader, that sinker leader, just a little bit smaller, so it'll bust off first.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Especially when you get in them rocks.
Make sure you tell everybody how they can find your videos and contact information, you guys.
I do a lot on Greenwell Fishing on Facebook, and then on YouTube, it's just my name, Mike Greenwell.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Now that Junior Proctor, mainly all we got around here is lakes, and down there he mainly fishes down around Santee and Moultrie and all of them. But some of them lakes, they I think it's Monticello, they pull a lot of water through. And there's no river channel in that lake. It's a man-made lake, and it's weird because it wasn't built on the river. And they actually pump water in and then pump water out. So it's weird. Got a lot of standing timber. But I can see Junior Proctor trying to try that when they're down there and got a lot of current in there. It's bumping through some of that standing timber. I can see Junior trying something like that.
Mike,
if there's water moving, give it a try.
Right. I was just getting ready to say, if it's moving, we can bump.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of flooding and stuff for the past 2 or 3 years down here. And I always thought if I'd had a boat, now you can't do much like that on a pontoon to really control it. But run Ray up that daggum river and bump all the way down because we got a good river section where Lake Wiley narrows down real narrow. And plus you got bait and stuff like that where they move water through there all the time. Yeah. So, man, if you got current, you can bump.
Peter the Deer Whisperer has joined the show.
It's about a day late and a dollar short, ain't he, Lyle?
He is a little bit late, but it's Dieter Melhorn. He's in deer camp, and he took time out to watch a little Mike Greenwell and Jacob tonight. So,
yes,
you know what? We're always glad to see Dieter watching Catfish Weekly.
Yes, sir.
Hope he throws a big one. Man, you guys, thanks so much. You done an awesome job tonight. What a great fish you guys caught. My Jacob has a stud. You may catch another one bigger than that next week. You may never catch another one, but you got that one.
That's right.
You're never going to forget it. And a lot of us that watch that video, we're never going to forget it either.
Well, I'm glad we got to see a little bit of it, but it was definitely a fish of a lifetime. And if Dieter's there at deer camp, that's about like 170-inch buck. You just don't get too many of them.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, that's a stud fish. Any way you cut it, and we're very happy for you guys to do that. Congratulations on the win.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Anything else, James?
No, don't forget, guys, got a lot of veterans and military out there. Shake a hand, tell them thank you, policemen, EMS, fire. We love them all. We appreciate them all. Mike, Jake, we thank you for the show tonight, and we'll do this again. I promise you.
That's right.
Next Monday night, Creole catfishing. Be sure to tune in to Catfish Weekly.
Sir, see y'all later. Say good night.